And there you go, Tech Mahindra and Mahindra Satyam, the board has approved the merger. But of course, what we're waiting out for, Nikunj, would be the swap ratio, and because of that, the stocks would actually react.
That's the near-term arbitrage. What I think ultimately fund managers would be curious to find out is that who will take the tax liability, because Mahindra Satyam currently has a tax liability of about 2,500 crore. What will happen there? Now, from a Mahindra Satyam perspective, indirectly this is good news, because if the smaller company is merged into a bigger company, do you have some information?
Yeah, I think the swap ratio has come in at 8.5 Satyam shares for every Tech Mahindra share held. That is what the news buyers are actually indicating. I'm just going to wait out for a confirmation on that news, but that is what some of the news buyers and websites are actually indicating right now. So we're just going to wait for the swap ratio.
Which means hardly any arbitrage is there. 8.5 versus 1, hardly any arbitrage is there. Now Mahindra Satyam is the smaller one. Mahindra Satyam currently is a business which the Mahindra group is struggling to scale it up, but Tech Mahindra is where the real telecom business is. Tech Mahindra is where the client profile is relatively very strong. So 2 shares, that's the final ratio, 2 shares of Tech Mahindra to be given for 17 shares of Mahindra Satyam. So if you divide that, it's roughly 8.5. So the swap ratio is not there. So I think this merger ratio has been very well thought, because traders right now, I'm afraid there is very little arbitrage opportunity. Those stocks haven't moved. 75 for Mahindra Satyam, 654 rupees for Tech Mahindra. Also, what would be interesting is that what kind of management commentary you will get now from the from the management when it comes to the proposed energy, in terms of synergies, ultimate margin outlook, who will take that tax hit of 2,500 crore. Because if you're merging a company which has a tax liability with a company right now which has got no liability, in the near term there is a scope that profitability may not be all that strong, because if you have a tax liability, you don't want to pay tax for at least next 2 or 3 quarters. So it would be engaging to get a comment going on that. But as of now, the news is the Tech Mahindra and Mahindra Satyam merger has been approved. 2 shares of Tech Mahindra to be given for 17 shares of Mahindra Satyam.